She never imagined that one phone call could quietly shake her heart days before Christmas. Emily was standing in her small kitchen, folding laundry, when her phone rang. The screen showed her mother's name, Linda. Emily paused for a moment before answering. Calls from her parents always carried a strange weight. They were polite on the surface, but underneath, there was always tension she could never explain. "Hi, Mom," Emily said softly. Linda's voice sounded cheerful, almost too cheerful. She talked about Christmas lights, food, and family traditions. Then she invited Emily, her husband Ryan, and their 2 children, Lily and Ben, to Christmas dinner at the old family house. Emily said yes, but her hands were trembling as she ended the call. She leaned against the counter and closed her eyes. For years, she had tried to make things better with her parents. They had never openly said they disliked her children, but their cold behavior spoke loudly. Missed birthdays, forgotten school events, short hugs. Emily always told herself she was imagining it. She wanted to believe her parents loved her kids, even if they didn't show it well. Ryan noticed her silence when he came home. He watched her carefully as she stirred soup on the stove. "Your mom called," Emily said, not looking at him. Ryan already knew what that meant. "Christmas dinner?" She nodded. He waited, giving her space. "Do you want to go?" Emily swallowed. "I think we should. It's Christmas. The kids deserve grandparents. Maybe this year will be different." She wanted to believe those words more than anyone else. That night, Emily lay awake listening to the sound of the heater and the quiet breathing of her children down the hall. Lily was 8, sensitive and observant. Ben was 5, full of questions and trust. They both loved Christmas. They loved wrapping paper, lights, and the idea of family togetherness. Emily's chest felt tight. What if her parents disappointed them again? What if she was leading her children into another quiet hurt? She remembered her own childhood Christmases in that same house. Her parents had been strict but proud. Love was shown through rules, not warmth. When Emily married Ryan, things changed. Her parents never said they disapproved, but their smiles became thinner. When Lily and Ben were born, that distance grew wider. Still, every year, Emily hoped. In the days leading up to Christmas, she tried to ignore the uneasy feeling following her everywhere. While wrapping gifts for Lily and Ben, she smiled and laughed, but inside, her thoughts kept drifting back to the dinner. She imagined her parents' faces, her father Frank's quiet judgment, her mother's sharp words hidden behind a calm tone. Lily asked, "Are Grandma and Grandpa excited to see us?" Emily froze for a second, then smiled. Of course they are. The lie tasted bitter, but she didn't want to plant doubt in her child's heart. On Christmas morning, Emily stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her sweater. She looked tired. Ryan came up behind her and rested his hands on her shoulders. "If anything feels wrong," he said gently, "we leave. No arguing." Emily nodded, grateful for his support. Still, a part of her felt like a child again, hoping for approval she never received. As they drove to her parents' house, snow falling lightly around them, Emily watched Lily and Ben laugh in the back seat. Their excitement filled the car. She felt a sharp mix of love and fear. She promised herself she would protect them, no matter what. The house came into view, glowing with lights, looking warm and welcoming from the outside. Emily felt her heart race. Appearances could be deceiving. She took a deep breath before stepping out of the car. She didn't know yet that this dinner would change everything. She only knew that she was walking into something fragile, something that could either heal old wounds or tear them open forever. The door opened before Emily could knock. Linda stood there with a practiced smile, her hair perfectly set, her sweater spotless. She hugged Emily lightly, as if afraid of pressing too close. Then she bent down to greet Lily and Ben, her smile thinning just a little. "Look how big you've gotten," Linda said, her voice polite, almost distant. Frank appeared behind her, nodding once at Emily and Ryan. He patted Ben's head quickly, like it was part of a routine, then turned away. Emily felt the familiar tightness in her chest, but she told herself it was nothing. It was still early. The night had just begun. Inside, the house looked exactly the same as Emily remembered. The same furniture. The same framed family photos on the wall, most of them from years before Lily and Ben were born. The smell of roasted meat filled the air, mixed with cinnamon and pine. Everything looked perfect, almost too perfect. Emily helped Lily take off her coat. Lily's eyes sparkled as she looked around. "It's so pretty," she whispered. Emily smiled, but her eyes scanned the room. Her sister, Claire, was already there with her 2 kids, Noah and Emma. They were laughing loudly, running around the living room. Linda rushed over to them, fixing Emma's hair and kissing Noah's cheek. Emily watched quietly. The difference was small, almost invisible, but she felt it deeply. When Lily tried to show Linda her new hair clip, Linda nodded without really looking. When Ben asked Frank about the Christmas tree, Frank answered with one word and turned back to the television. Ryan noticed. He squeezed Emily's hand gently. Dinner was announced soon after. Everyone gathered around the large dining table. The plates were set carefully, each one placed perfectly. Emily sat between Ryan and Lily, with Ben on the other side. She felt like she was holding her breath without realizing it. The conversation started lightly. Linda talked about the weather. Claire talked about work. Frank complained about traffic. Emily tried to join in, but her words felt small, like they didn't belong in the room. Lily dropped her fork by accident. The sound echoed loudly. Emily reached to pick it up, but Linda spoke first. "Be careful," she said sharply, then smiled again. "These things cost money." Emily's cheeks burned. Lily whispered sorry, her shoulders shrinking. Emily wanted to say something, but she stayed quiet. She didn't want to create a scene. Not yet. As dinner went on, Emily noticed small things. The way Linda praised Claire's kids for every little thing. The way Frank laughed at Noah's jokes but stayed silent when Ben spoke. Each moment was like a small cut, not enough to bleed, but enough to hurt. Ryan shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. He leaned close to Emily and whispered, "Are you okay?" She nodded, even though she wasn't sure it was true. When dessert was served, the kids grew excited. Emma clapped her hands. Noah bounced in his chair. Lily and Ben looked at Emily, smiling, their eyes full of hope. Linda stood up and disappeared into the other room. Emily felt her heart beat faster. She knew what usually came next. The gifts. The laughter. The joy. She watched as Linda returned with a large bag filled with wrapped boxes. She handed one to Emma. Then another to Noah. The children squealed with excitement. Paper tore. Toys appeared. Frank smiled proudly, watching them. Emily waited. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Linda sat down, sipping her drink, acting as if nothing was missing. Lily's smile slowly faded. Ben looked around, confused. He leaned closer to Emily. "Mom," he whispered, "did we forget something?" Emily's throat tightened. She forced a smile. "Maybe later," she said softly. But deep down, a cold feeling began to spread. She felt eyes on her. Not kind ones. Observing ones. Claire avoided Emily's gaze. Ryan's jaw tightened. Emily finally spoke, her voice calm but shaking underneath. "Mom, I think there's been a mistake." Linda looked at her slowly, as if Emily had interrupted something unimportant. "What do you mean?" Emily gestured toward Lily and Ben. "The kids." The room grew quiet. Even the clock on the wall sounded louder. Linda placed her glass down carefully. "No mistake," she said flatly. Emily felt her heart sink, a quiet warning telling her something was terribly wrong. Emily felt the silence press down on her chest like a heavy weight. Lily and Ben sat very still, their small faces turned toward her, waiting. The room felt colder, even though the heater was running. Linda's words hung in the air, sharp and careless. "No mistake," Linda repeated, folding her hands in her lap. Emily's mouth went dry. "I don't understand," she said slowly. "It's Christmas." Frank finally looked up from his plate. His eyes were calm, almost bored. "We decided to keep things simple this year," he said. "Not everyone needs gifts." Emily's heart began to pound. She glanced at Claire, hoping for help, for a sign that this was some kind of joke. Claire stared down at her dessert, pretending to be busy. Lily shifted in her chair. Did we do something wrong? She asked quietly. The question cut straight through Emily. She felt her throat tighten. No, sweetheart, she said quickly, reaching for Lily's hand. You didn't do anything wrong. Linda sighed, as if tired of the conversation. Kids don't always need presents to feel happy, she said. Some children are more important to invest in than others. The words landed hard. Emily stared at her mother, trying to understand what she was hearing. What does that mean? She asked, her voice shaking now. Linda looked directly at her. It means we have to be realistic. Your children don't really fit into our plans the way Claire's kids do. For a moment, Emily couldn't breathe. Her ears rang. She looked at Lily and Ben. Ben's eyes were wide and shiny. Lily's lips trembled as she tried to stay brave. Frank cleared his throat. Let's not make this dramatic, he said. This is how it is. Emily felt something inside her break. Years of quiet hurt, swallowed words, and forced smiles rushed to the surface. Her hands trembled as she stood up from the table. Dramatic, she repeated softly. You just told my children they're not important. Linda frowned. Lower your voice. Emily laughed once, bitter and shaky. You humiliated them. On Christmas. In front of everyone. Lily began to cry quietly. Ben slid his chair closer to Emily, hiding his face against her side. Emily wrapped her arms around them, her heart aching with guilt. She had brought them here. She had hoped for kindness where there was none. Ryan stood up beside her. His voice was calm, but firm. That's enough. Frank's face hardened. This is our house. Emily nodded slowly. And these are my children. She looked around the table one last time. The decorations. The lights. The food. None of it mattered anymore. The warmth she had hoped for was gone, replaced by something cold and cruel. We're leaving, Emily said. Linda shook her head. You're overreacting. Emily met her eyes. No. I'm choosing my kids. She helped Lily and Ben off their chairs. Lily clung to her, her small hands shaking. Ben wouldn't let go of her coat. Emily felt their fear, their confusion, and it fueled her strength. As they walked toward the door, no one stopped them. The silence followed them like a shadow. Outside, the cold air hit Emily's face, sharp and real. She breathed deeply, holding her children close. Her heart was broken, but one thing was clear now. She would never allow anyone to make her children feel small again. The walk to the car felt longer than it should have. Snow crunched under their shoes, loud in the quiet night. Emily held Lily's hand tightly with one hand and wrapped the other arm around Ben, who pressed his face into her coat. She could feel his small body shaking. Each step away from the house felt heavy, but also strangely right. Ryan unlocked the car and opened the back door. Lily climbed in slowly, wiping her tears with her sleeve. Ben followed without saying a word. Emily helped buckle them in, her fingers stiff from the cold and from everything she was holding inside. She forced a gentle smile for them, even though her chest hurt. Mom, Lily whispered, did Grandma mean what she said? Emily paused. The question felt like a knife, but she knelt down so her eyes were level with Lily's. What she said was wrong, she replied softly. Very wrong. You and your brother are important. More than you know. Lily nodded, trying to believe her. Ben reached out and grabbed Emily's hand, refusing to let go until she promised she wouldn't leave him alone. Emily kissed his forehead and promised. When Emily finally got into the front seat, her hands were shaking so badly she had trouble closing the door. Ryan started the engine, but he didn't drive right away. He looked at her, his eyes full of concern and quiet anger. I'm sorry, Emily said suddenly. The words rushed out of her before she could stop them. I shouldn't have brought them here. I kept hoping things would change. Ryan shook his head. You didn't do anything wrong. You tried. That matters. Emily leaned back in her seat and stared at the house one last time. Through the window, she could see the warm lights, the decorations, the image of a perfect family gathering. It felt like a lie now. She turned away as Ryan pulled the car onto the road. The drive home was quiet. The kids eventually fell asleep, their faces tired and red from crying. Emily watched them in the rearview mirror, her heart aching. She felt guilt, anger, and sadness tangled together. But underneath all of it, there was something else. Clarity. She realized that she had spent most of her life trying to earn love from her parents. She had adjusted herself, stayed silent, and accepted less than she deserved. Tonight, she had finally stopped doing that. And it scared her. At home, Ryan carried Ben inside while Emily guided Lily to her room. Lily changed into her pajamas without speaking. When she climbed into bed, Emily sat beside her and brushed her hair gently. "Mom," Lily said, her voice small, "are we bad?" Emily's heart broke all over again. "No," she said firmly. "You are good. You are kind. And you are loved." Sometimes adults say hurtful things because of their own problems. That has nothing to do with you. Lily closed her eyes, holding on to those words like something fragile. Later, after both kids were asleep, Emily sat on the couch staring at the Christmas tree. The lights blinked softly, unaware of what had happened. The house was quiet, but her mind was loud. Her phone buzzed. A message from Linda. "You embarrassed us tonight. You didn't need to make a scene." Emily read it once. Then again. Her hands clenched, but she didn't reply. For the first time, she didn't feel the urge to explain herself. She didn't feel the need to apologize. Ryan sat beside her and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You were strong," he said. "I'm proud of you." Emily leaned into him, tears finally falling. Not loud, dramatic tears. Quiet ones. The kind that come when something ends. She knew there would be consequences. Awkward calls. Family pressure. Guilt-tripping words. But she also knew something else. She had drawn a line. And once a line is drawn, it cannot be unseen. That night, Emily made a silent promise. No more dinners where her children felt invisible. No more holidays filled with tension and fear. No more hoping for love from people who refused to give it. She would build her own version of family. One where her children were safe, valued, and never questioned their worth. As she turned off the lights and went to bed, the pain was still there. But so was strength. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt at peace with the choice she had made. Christmas morning arrived quietly, almost carefully, as if the world knew it needed to be gentle. Pale sunlight slipped through the curtains, touching the walls of the living room. Emily woke up feeling heavy, but determined. The night before still echoed in her mind, every word, every look, every silence. For a moment, she wondered if she had dreamed it all. But the tight feeling in her chest reminded her it was real. She got out of bed and stood in the doorway of her children's rooms. Lily was curled up under her blanket, clutching her stuffed bear. Ben slept with his mouth slightly open, his small hand wrapped around his pillow. Emily watched them, love flooding her heart. They were safe. They were home. In the kitchen, she started making breakfast. The smell of pancakes slowly filled the house. Ryan joined her, rubbing his eyes, and gave her a quiet smile. No words were needed. They both understood this morning was different. When the kids woke up, they walked into the living room slowly, unsure of what to expect. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, lights glowing softly. The gifts Emily and Ryan had wrapped were still there, waiting. Ben pointed at the tree. "We still get presents, right?" Emily knelt down and held his face gently. "Yes," she said. "And not because you earned them. Because we love you." Ben smiled, relief washing over his face. They opened gifts together, laughing and teasing each other. Lily hugged her new book to her chest. Ben ran around with his toy, making loud sound effects. The house filled with warmth, the kind that doesn't come from decorations or expensive meals. Later, they sat together on the floor, eating pancakes and drinking hot chocolate. Lily leaned against Emily's shoulder. "I like Christmas here," she said quietly. Emily swallowed hard. "Me too." As the day went on, Emily's phone stayed silent at first. Then messages started to come in. One from her aunt, asking why they left dinner early. Another from her cousin, saying her parents were upset. Emily read them without responding. For once, she didn't feel responsible for managing everyone's emotions. In the afternoon, snow began to fall. Emily and the kids went outside, building a small snowman in the yard. Ben laughed when it fell over. Lily decorated it with stones and twigs. Their laughter floated into the cold air, light and free. Emily realized something as she watched them. This was the Christmas she had wanted all along. Not perfect. Not impressive. Just honest. That evening, as they sat together watching a movie, Emily felt a mix of sadness and relief. The pain from her parents' words was still there, but it was softer now, less sharp. She understood that walking away had not broken her family. It had protected it. She thought about the years ahead. About future holidays. About boundaries she would have to keep, even when it was hard. It scared her, but it also gave her strength. Before bed, Emily tucked Lily and Ben in. Ben yawned and smiled. "Today was fun," he said. Lily nodded. "The best." Emily kissed their foreheads and turned off the lights. As she closed their doors, she felt tears in her eyes, but they were not only sad tears. They were the kind that come when something painful turns into something meaningful. That Christmas was not the one Emily had planned, but it was the one her children needed. And for the first time, she knew that was enough. The days after Christmas moved slowly, like the world was giving Emily time to breathe. The decorations stayed up, but they no longer felt heavy. They felt honest. The house was quieter, calmer. Lily and Ben returned to their routines, playing, laughing, and slowly forgetting the sharp edges of that night. Emily watched them closely, always listening, always ready in case the hurt returned. Her parents did not stay silent for long. The phone rang on the third day after Christmas. Emily saw her mother's name and felt a familiar tension rise in her chest. She didn't answer right away. She let it ring, then stop. A few minutes later, a message arrived. "You overreacted. We didn't mean to hurt anyone. Families don't just walk away like that." Emily read the message twice. In the past, she would have rushed to explain, to soften the situation, to apologize even when she was not wrong. This time, she placed the phone face down and walked away. Later that evening, Ryan asked gently, "Did they call?" Emily nodded. "They want things to go back to normal." Ryan looked at her. "And what do you want?" Emily thought about that for a long moment. She looked at Lily coloring at the table, at Ben building something on the floor. "I want normal to mean my kids are safe," she said quietly. That night, Emily finally replied to her mother. "What happened was not okay. My children were hurt. Until you can respect them, we need space." Her finger hovered over the screen before she sent it. Then she pressed send. The response came quickly. Too quickly. "You're being dramatic. They're kids. They'll forget." Emily felt anger rise, calm but strong. She typed one last message. "They will not forget how they were made to feel. Neither will I." Then she stopped responding. The following weeks were not easy. Some family members took her parents' side. Some stayed silent. A few reached out quietly, saying they understood. Emily learned who truly listened and who only wanted peace at any cost. There were moments when doubt crept in. Late at night, she would wonder if she had done the right thing. She would remember her mother's voice, her father's distant stare. Old habits of guilt tried to pull her back. But then Lily would laugh freely. Ben would fall asleep without fear. And Emily would remember why she chose this path. One afternoon, Lily came home from school and said, "Mom, my teacher says families are different. Some are big, some are small." Emily smiled. "That's true." Lily thought for a second. "I think ours is strong." Emily hugged her tightly, her eyes filling with tears. As time passed, Emily stopped waiting for an apology that might never come. She stopped hoping her parents would suddenly understand. Instead, she focused on building something better. They started new traditions. Friday movie nights. Sunday breakfasts. Small moments that felt warm and steady. The kids thrived in the peace. One evening, while putting away decorations, Emily found an old ornament from her childhood. It was chipped and faded. She held it for a moment, then placed it gently in a box. Some things, she realized, belonged to the past. On a quiet night weeks later, Emily sat by the window watching the snow fall again. Her phone buzzed. A message from her father. "We don't agree with you. But we see you won't change your mind." Emily stared at the words. They were not kind. They were not loving. But they were honest. She replied simply, "That's correct." She set the phone down and felt something she hadn't expected. Relief. Emily understood now that standing up for her children did not make her cruel. It made her a mother. Love, real love, does not ask children to shrink themselves to be accepted. That Christmas dinner had taken something from her, but it had also given her something powerful. Clarity. Strength. A clear line between what she would accept and what she never would again. As she turned off the lights and went to bed, Emily felt calm. Not because everything was fixed, but because she had chosen what mattered most. And that choice would guide her for the rest of her life.